Hi, everyone. Matt Clark, research analyst for Money and Markets here with your weekly marijuana market update. Make sure you do subscribe to our YouTube channel and get notified each and every time we put out a new video. You can do so very simply. If you're not subscribed already, click that subscribe button and then mash that notification bell. Get notified whenever we release a new video. We've got a lot of great weekly videos that we put out on YouTube almost every day, including Ask Adam Anything. This is where I sit down with our chief investment strategist, Adam O'Dell, and ask him basically any question, either from you or from me, and we get his insights into the stock market. We have Investing with Charles, where Green Zone Fortune's co-editor Charles Sizemore and I talk about all things related to the stocks and the economy. We compare stocks, give you kind of our take on which is the better buy for you and your investment portfolio. Then we have the Bull and the Bear. This is our weekly podcast. I show you the trends and the analysis that move the market. All these series are available right here on YouTube. Plus, we're looking at adding maybe some new things. We've talked about it. We'll see what might maybe happen here in 2022. So check back often and find out if we're adding some new features. Now, for today's marijuana market update, I'm going to look at the mergers and acquisitions side of the cannabis market so far this year, and I'm going to answer a reader question about a legalization blog post. Now, first, let's visit the world of M&A. And to do that, we should start by examining legal cannabis sales. In 2019, legal cannabis sales were around $13 billion in the U.S. That's $4.9 billion for medical and $8.1 billion for adult use. The COVID-19 pandemic pushed those sales even higher in 2020, with total legal retail sales approaching nearly $19 billion in the U.S. alone. Projections from Marijuana Business Daily suggest the total legal market for cannabis sales will reach $37 billion by 2024. That's a 184% increase from 2019. The biggest boost here comes from the adult use side of the business, which is kind of a no-brainer. Sales are expected to go from $8.1 billion in 2019 to a whopping $25.3 billion in 2024. That's a 212% jump in just adult use sales. Now, looking at the global scale, which is also important here, Germany's new coalition government has recently announced a deal to fully legalize cannabis in Europe's largest economy. And that should really blow things up in the legal cannabis market globally. Projections from BDS Analytics see a $6.2 billion expansion in the legal cannabis market globally from 2021 to 2022, even though Germany's cannabis infrastructure may not make that market fully ready until about 2023. Expectations are that the global legal cannabis market will grow to $42.7 billion by 2024 as more countries push for legalization and sales continue to grow. Now, all told, the global market will expand by nearly 1,200% from 2014 to 2024, which is a massive sector growth in just 10 years. Now, this current perspective growth is putting a spotlight on mergers and acquisitions in the cannabis market space. According to New Frontier data, through the third quarter of 2021, the year has been rife with companies looking to enter new markets, expand operations, or get their hands on intellectual property through M&A deals. Now, a large portion of M&A deals involved cultivation and retail, or basically plant-touching operations. They include Tilray's $2.4 billion purchase of Afria in April, Truliev's $2.3 billion acquisition of Harvest Health and Recreation in October, AYR Strategy's $198 million purchase of Garden State Dispensary, and Cresco Labs Cultivate licensing in September. Nearly all of the top 10 M&A deals in the cannabis space in 2021 included plant-touching operators. And I don't think this trend is going to slow down. Now, as a cannabis investor, if you're looking to profit on a potential M&A takeover, it will be prudent to find a company that either has U.S. operations or is a Canadian licensed producer, as the trend suggests this is where M&A money is going. Now, what typically happens, it doesn't happen all the time, but what typically happens when a merger or acquisition is announced, the company being bought sees its share price go up, while the company doing the buying actually sees its share price go down. Again, not always the case, but it is more the rule than the exception of late. And with sales only expected to increase in the U.S. and internationally, companies directly involved in either retail, cultivation, or both are prime targets for M&A activity in the cannabis space heading into 2022. Now, there's a lot of money in the cannabis market yet to be made, and smaller operators in the U.S. are going to continue struggling to scale their operations to get a slice of that pie, especially if the U.S. market opens wider in the coming years. This makes so smaller operators prime targets for larger players, but it could also be a great situation for smart investors to cash in on upcoming M&A deals. And that kind of relates into a comment and a question I'm going to address in my previous video. Last week, I shared some insights into the state of the cannabis market in 2021, and I received an interesting question on YouTube from James. And he wrote, "Spot on as always, Matt. As a morose CCHWF bag holder, I needed to hear this. Would like your feedback on this weed stock Reddit post." And the post reads, "Everyone needs to take 5 minutes and call Senators Booker and Schumer and implore them to get SAFE passed now. What's going on in Oakland will spread like COVID to other cities and states, and MSOs will be helpless as millions of their product and cash will walk out the door. Many dispensaries in Colorado are cutting store hours due to understaffing. Why? Because people just don't want to work. Criminals know where the green is, and you can expect to see rashes of bank-style holdups resulting in valuable employees quitting for their safety, and rightly so. Weed investors, do not wait until mayhem really kicks in. Get on the phone now." So, James, I mentioned this in my response on our YouTube channel, but I think it bears repeating. There's a lot to unpack here. Let's start with Oakland. During the week of November 15th, more than 25 licensed marijuana businesses were actually robbed in the Oakland area, leading the marijuana business community in the region to ask state officials for what they call a tax amnesty, according to Marijuana Moment. These robberies cost those businesses up to $5 million in losses. Specifically, nonprofit group Supernova Women have asked the state to repeal the cannabis cultivation tax and cut the excise tax imposed on marijuana products. Now, to give you kind of what that means, one activist suggested Oakland cannabis companies pay 6% in taxes. Non-cannabis companies in Oakland pay 0.12%. That's a 600% difference in taxes paid between cannabis operators and non-cannabis operators, and that's just in Oakland. Now, while I agree this is a wide difference, you've got to understand one thing, and I know this isn't necessarily popular to say, but one of the big selling points politically to legalizing cannabis in just about any state is the amount of tax revenue it can bring into state or local entities. This is a big thing. If we're trying to make up shortfalls elsewhere in sales tax or property taxes or things like that, proponents of cannabis legalization will go to state legislators and say, hey, look, if you tax a certain percent, you're going to make up this much in cannabis sales. And that's a big driver to approve cannabis legally in a lot of these states. And with sales reaching all-time highs, it suggests that consumers really aren't turned off by paying higher taxes for legal cannabis. Taxes are up, but the product is still being sold, and actually being sold at near record levels. Also, another thing to bear in mind here is that California doesn't specifically require excise and sales taxes to be paid on stolen goods. That said, it is tough for any business to recover $5 million in stolen potential revenue. Now, this leads us up to the SAFE Act, which is currently being debated as part of the National Defense Authorization Act in the U.S. Senate. The SAFE Act would essentially allow legal cannabis companies to operate under normal business banking procedures, just like any other business, without any penalties being assessed to banks. Banks would be able to give cannabis companies lines of credit rather than forcing them to apply year after year for loans with such high interest rates. The connection here is that the $5 million in losses would be an easier pill to swallow for these cannabis companies, because a cannabis company could draw on a line of credit to help recoup those losses without having to pay massive amounts back in taxes or in fees or things like that. Now, the U.S. House actually creatively attached the SAFE Act to the almost automatic NDAA, expecting an easy road to passage, because every year without fail, Congress passes the National Defense Authorization Act. And this is basically the defense spending bill. This is where this gives the Pentagon its marching orders to say, you're going to get this much money and now you can spend it, go have fun. And it gets authorized every single year without fail. So the House thought, well, this could be an easy way to pass this. So they attached the Safe Banking Act to that bill. However, Senator Chuck Schumer, who is the Senate Majority Leader, and Senator Cory Booker from New Jersey, both are Democrats and are both advocates of legalizing marijuana, have put a serious damper on the SAFE Act being included in the NDAA, as they want to pass a lot of social justice reform either before or along with banking regulation related to cannabis. And I get that. Social justice is a very important thing that's being discussed, especially with cannabis. We've got expungement of cannabis crime, of nonviolent cannabis-related crimes, things like that. All very important and definitely do deserve their day and deserve passage in Congress. Now, a bipartisan group of senators, including several on the Senate Armed Services Committee, which is the committee responsible for advancing the NDAA to the full floor of the Senate, wrote a letter asking for the inclusion of the SAFE Act in the NDAA. And despite the letter, Senate Finance Committee Chairman Senator Rob Wyden of Oregon, along with Schumer and Booker, are holding to the course of passing more comprehensive reform before addressing banking related to cannabis. With the midterm elections of 2022 leaving control of the House and the Senate up in the air, if Congress is going to pass any kind of relief for cannabis businesses, the time is pretty well now, because Republican leadership is much less likely to take up cannabis regulations than the democratically controlled houses are right now. However, suggesting flooding Schumer or Booker with calls isn't really necessarily a worthwhile effort for cannabis advocates. But that said, I wouldn't not encourage you from calling your elected officials to attempt to express your views. I do agree that taking a stepped approach to cannabis reform, like passing the SAFE Act without more comprehensive reform, is much better than trying to knock the ball out of the park with trying to pass everything. We just got done with infrastructure. We just got done with massive spending bills. We just got through a debt ceiling issue that's going to take us only until February of 2022. There's still a lot of big ticket items on the plate of Congress, even before midterm elections. Cannabis is not one of them. So if you want to see any kind of movement in the cannabis market, you want to see the SAFE Banking Act included in the NDAA. Odds are it will pass if it is. However, the only thing holding it up is the fact that you've got Democratic leadership saying, no, we'd rather see more comprehensive reform passed along with banking. Why that is, not exactly sure. I think it's more of a political football than anything else, but that's my opinion. It doesn't necessarily, that and $5.25 will get you a cup of coffee at some of your local Starbucks. So I will say, though, that doing things in steps and putting the SAFE Banking Act within the NDAA is most certainly better than doing nothing, which is what's happening right now. Now, if you do have a question about a cannabis stock or the market in general, email me. You can email me at feedback@moneyandmarkets.com. We're going to put that email address down below there. Or you can comment below here on YouTube and if you send us your question or a video of your question or testimonial and we use it, then you're going to get some free Money and Markets gear like t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts. James, I'm going to reach out to you and get your contact info so we can get you set up with some Money Markets gear, like maybe one of these t-shirts or a sweatshirt or hat, or maybe all of it. We'll certainly see what happens. Don't forget about all the great content we have on our YouTube channel. It is the best investment insight, and it is all yours for free. You can follow me on Twitter as well. I give you even more insights, not just in the cannabis market, but the broader market in general. You can find me on Twitter. My handle is Invest with Matt C. That's Invest with Matt C. All one word on Twitter. And thank you to all of you who do watch our videos each and every week. We do it because we want to bring you the best insights into the cannabis market, as well as investing in general, that we can, and give it to you for free. Also, check out the mothership that is moneyandmarkets.com every single day for new content. We'd like to provide safe, sound, smart, simple, profitable investment information for your portfolio each and every day. Sign up for our free daily e-letter. In it, you'll get all that information sent to your inbox for free 7 days a week. No fuss, no muss. And all of it right there at your fingertips. I'm Matt Clark, research analyst for Money and Markets, and your host of the Marijuana Market Update. Until next time, everyone, safe trading.